Hello, dancers. So today we're going to be doing 4 rock step variations. It's so fun. There's so many ways to travel with this movement. It's all about like the musicality, what you're comfortable with, and just where you want to go from in your movement if you're at one location and then you try and travel to another location. So it's just offering you some options. So when you hear the music, you can apply the one that makes most sense. So that way it just feels really in sync with your body and then just wonderful to be dancing in. So let's review our rock step. And this is actually the first one that we have is our rock step variation is the OG, the original one. So it's literally just coming front and back, and which I want you to really pay attention to when you do this. And I put this in because I think it's really important for you to just kind of have them back to back so you can see how it is supposed to look. I say supposed to loosely because everyone's going to offer a little bit different about how they want to do the rock step. But I want you to pay attention to your feet, especially when you do this one, because you need this slight turnout. If you are just kind of stepping front and back with your toes pointing forward, what you're going to find is your knees are going to start hitting against each other. And so when you allow your feet to gently turn out and have that turnout there while you do the rock step, you're going to find that you're going to have a lot more options technically, as well as not get in your own way. So I wanted to make sure that this was the first variation, and for you, the variation may be just doing the turnout and paying attention to that. So the first thing that we're going to do is just remind ourselves of what a rock step is literally just rocking back and forth. And so the tendency is to kind of move your body forward and back, and then literally you're rocking your weight back and forth. And this is why it's called a rock step, because you're just shifting your weight in this rocking sensation as you come front and back. So what's going to be really important for us today is that we stop this full body shifting from happening front to back and really start to allow it to just happen more from the hip and less in the shoulder. So you're going to notice more where the rock step's going to happen is going to be in the bottom half of my body. So that way I don't have this full body need to control my weight, because if I bring my shoulders along, what's going to happen is I have to control all of that, and when it gets faster it's going to be more difficult. So I'm just going to allow myself to kind of shift from the hip instead and allow myself to have this very small deviation from center, which is where this foot is right now, with my shoulders. So we're going to have front step, back step, front step, back step. And if you haven't already, put in that gentle turnout in your feet. It doesn't have to be like this. Do you see what I mean? That's not going to help at all. Actually, it'll be very counterproductive. But if your feet are facing forward right here, then what you want to do is just gently point your toes out to the angle of your room just a little bit more, and then bring the heels in just a little bit. So it's going to feel like this slight degree, like you're making a very shallow V with your feet. Front and back. Let's get into our relevé. So you can always do the original one like this, where your feet actually come down. If it's slow enough, it's not going to be difficult, but as it gets really fast, then what will happen is you're not going to be able to shift your weight onto the heel as much. So we're going to pick that up into a relevé. Your highest relevé that you feel comfortable. It's okay if your feet are just floating off the ground like this. They don't have to be like platform heels kind of style. You can work up to there. So we have front and back and front and back. And you can see it's front and back. I'm not going front, back. You see that difference? I'm just keeping my shoulders more still. Front and back and front and back and front and back and front and back. You don't need to keep those shoulders super isolated because it might make you feel a little stiffer. You can practice that isolation with time, but for right now, just get most of the weight shifting into the hips. And front and back and front and back, front, back, front, back. So the next thing that we have with this, so this is variation 1, right? Flat foot or relevé, your choice, with the turnout. That's going to be really helpful for you. Okay, so now variation 2 is we're going to offer our rock step a figure 8. I said, what? So you're going to figure eight on that front foot and you're going to figure eight on the back foot. So it's going to look like a forward figure eight where your hip comes front to back on that front foot. So it's going to be kind of synchronized in that way. And then as you go back, it's going to be that back figure eight or that reverse figure eight. So meaning your hip comes back to front. So forward to back, back to front, back to front. See that difference? Watch this right hip. Front to back versus back to front. Does that make sense? And it really is the side that you're motivating with, because obviously on the opposite side, it's doing the opposite thing since our hips are linked together. So let's get back into that OG rock step. So as you rock it through, we're going to take this slow, and I'm going to show you from the side first because you'll see the motion a little bit more. Do your best to keep that turn out as you do that so we don't pigeon toe during the movement. So you're going to forward figure eight, back figure eight. This is one of my favorite moves to do with my students when we're doing in choreography, because there's just beautiful allowance for flow that happens versus only having this option of coming front to back. So you're going to reverse figure eight, forward figure eight. Back figure eight, forward figure. And you'll notice I allow my hips to turn out. Back and front and back and front. Keep that turn out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very subtle. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Versus 1, 2, 3, 4. See that difference? 1, 2, 3. Add the figure eight. Variation 2. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm still generally keeping my shoulders right in place. So I'm not coming out. That will be an added nuance that you get to choose if you would like to add. So that's variation 2. Variation 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, relevé, 1, 2, variation 2 with the figure eight. It's 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. Yes. Variation 3 is you are literally just pivoting your shit around the block. So you're going to open up your body to a direction. We're going to go right foot first and go over the right. Of course, make sure you practice all of this on the left side. So as we do this rock step, you're going to gently open up to your right side, meaning if I had my right hand out, I'm going to kind of chase after this right hand. So I'm pulling that right shoulder back and looking, you're imagining looking over that right shoulder. You're not actually going to look over your right shoulder, but that'll help give you a little bit of direction. So we have the OG, 2. Variation 3 is pivoting around yourself. So we're going to travel around that block. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. What? And 7 and 8. And again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You'll notice I'm just opening up to the right part of my body. So if I were to look over my shoulder, my right shoulder, I'm going in that direction. Variation 3. Let's do all 3 of them. 5, 6, 7, and OG. Variation 1. Now relevé. What? There's no music, so I got to make sure that I'm entertaining you guys somehow with keeping a beat. 4, 3, 2. Variation 2. 1 and 2. And 3 and 4 and 5, 6. Let's pivot around. Variation 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Variation 4. What? We're plowing through these. Yes. So what you're going to do, remember how I said keep your shoulders kind of right here and just really shift the weight of your lower half. What you're going to do is as you push your weight forward on this front one, you're just going to motivate just a little bit into that front foot from the hip. So you'll see the slight shift pushing forward like this. Not full body, but instead of this, right here, you're going to see this. So it's going to be a hip slide forward over that front foot. Hip slide forward, hip slide forward. You really got to keep your posture here. Otherwise, if you do this, it might not be the best thing, right? So for multiple reasons, by the way. So front and back and front and back. So you're going to push it forward. Now, as you go on that back step, you're going to hinge at the hip like you're doing this large hip circle. Back, front and back, front and back, front and back, front and back. You see I'm hinging, but I'm keeping my back straight. So I'm not going to be like, wah, wah, right? So keep that back straight. So we have push forward, back, push forward, back. So the booty comes front, then back, front, then back, front, then back, front, then back. And you'll notice that my weight shifts really significantly onto this back leg, which it typically does anyway, but in a way where it's extremely noticeable that you'll have to make sure that you give more effort to push forward and be still in time because you're doing more in order to get that, right? 1 and 2. And some people, 1 and 2. And you can add some fun variation. It's so fun. So here we go. 4th variation. Then we're going to do the 4 from the top, from the back, and then I'll show you to the front. 5, 6, variation 4. It's 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Keep your turn out. 5, 6, from the top. Here we go. OG. Boom. 1, 2, 3, and relevé. It's 1, 2, 3. At the figure 8, variation 2. Doom, da da, doom, 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 da da, doom, da da. Let's variation 3 right here. It's front, open over that right shoulder. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Variation 4, push and back, push and back, push and back, push and back. From the top. 6, variation 1 right here. It's flat foot. 2, 3, relevé. Here we go. It's up. 2, 3, 4, figure 8. 1, 2. Variation 2 is right here. Figure 8. Yes. Let's pivot around. It's 1, 2. Variation 3, 4, 5, 6, variation 4. Here we go. Push it forward and back. 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 What? So you could use so much of this to really get around your space. And remember, it comes down to the music. So if you're having any questions on that, this is where you want to join a class because it's really hard to only decipher by yourself. Not impossible, by the way. Doable, but a lot more challenging to do on your own. So if you're interested in seeing how you start to apply all this movement, I highly encourage you to come take a live streaming class with me for free. The description is, or it's in the description below, where you can just sign up for a free live streaming class with me so you can see how we start to apply all of this, because the technique doesn't matter as much if there's no context. Do you know what I'm saying? So we want to know how to apply all of this so you understand why we have so many variations, okay? Well done today, dancers. Get in that drilling. Do them back to back so you can start to feel the difference in your body. And feel free to reach out to me. I'll see you next week.